Ed Miliband is covering up the truth about your skyrocketing electricity bills. The Secretary of State for Energy and Net Zero stands accused today in a Telegraph report of burying an official document. A document that would prove his own decision is going to cost you money, and he won't let you see it. Here's what's going on. Last year, Miliband had a choice: reform the way we price electricity in this country or leave the broken system in place. The reform is called zonal pricing. Sounds technical, but it's quite simple. It means the price of power reflects where it's generated. If the wind's blowing hard up in Scotland and there's loads of cheap electricity going spare, people up there will pay less. It punishes waste and it rewards efficiency. Importantly, it cuts the cost of building the grid, a grid that, by the way, is already swallowing nearly a third of your bill. Civil servants told him to do it. Octopus Energy backed the proposals. Campaigners at a group called Britain Remade backed it. Independent analysts say the reform would save this country, get this, more than £3.5 billion a year. So why did Miliband kill it? Well, the Telegraph's report suggests it was killed because the wind farm lobby threw a fit about it. They warned him their profits would take a hit. And Miliband, terrified, of course, of missing his clean power target for 2030, folded into the pressure, putting his green lobby ahead of consumers. He sided with the wind developers against you. Ed Miliband promised a full cost-benefit analysis by Christmas. It's now May, and the Telegraph filed a Freedom of Information request, and the department took 5 months to reply. Then they claimed the document was never finished, and releasing it would, again, cause confusion and disrupt the markets. No evidence that it would happen, by the way. Last year alone, Britain wasted £1.5 billion, a record, paying wind farms to switch off the grid because it couldn't cope with the electricity they were producing. £1.5 billion added to electricity bills, all to pay these greedy wind farm companies not to generate power. What's the point of you then? Then, this system Miliband has chosen to defend, and he's about to triple offshore wind capacity by 2030, piling even more pressure onto a grid that's already buckling. Ed, if you've got nothing to hide, mate, why don't you just release the report? Well, I'm joined in the studio by the Director of Climate Media Coalition, Donica McCarthy, plus my panel, author and academic Dr. Lisa McKenzie, former Met Police Detective Peter Blexley, and businessman and activist Adam Brooks. Donica, thanks for joining the panel tonight. This report here is quite damning. If Ed Miliband's got nothing to hide, why not publish it? Is he scared of the Green lobby?
Well, I think it should be published, but I think the whole rest of the story in the Telegraph is a load of rubbish. The real story here is Ed Miliband is cutting already bills. He has cut the eco-social levy, he has cut the legacy green levy, he's promised to cut the coal levy, and he's cutting all of those levies that were left by the Tories in place. The real story that the Telegraph didn't tell is that, do you know the national grid is privatised? Do you know it is owned by the Dubai billionaires and American billionaires? And they make £5 billion profit a year, which would more than build the grid we needed. And they failed over the last 10 years to build the grid we need. And that's why our consumers are spending £1.5 billion to compensate for this privatised rip-off that has screwed our consumers.
Just to challenge you on your claim that Ed Miliband's cutting bills, I think if you spoke to any single person in Britain, I don't think a single one of them would tell you their bills have gone down. They've gone up.
That's
They've gone up.
True. Come on, Alex. Let's deal with facts.
The current cap. Hang on. Let me just finish. I'll let you come back in. Let me just finish. Hang on. Let me finish. I'll let you come back in. I just wanted to clarify what I was talking about, because when Ed Miliband and this government was standing to run in the general election, they promised us £300 off energy bills. I think on average, energy bills have gone up about £500 per household, probably even more than that.
OK, so what's happened? He promised he would reduce costs. He has. What he couldn't do and promise was he couldn't promise that fossil fuel prices wouldn't soar because of the Israeli-American invasion of Iran. And that gas prices are already up 45%. The facts about bills right now in this current 3 months is that they're down £117. The cap is down £117 because he cut 2 of the Tory levies.
But one of them goes back onto general taxation, though. So it's a stealth removing of the green levy.
Yes, but we're actually talking about consumers.
So consumers are still paying for it, just in different taxes.
Absolutely, and what we should.
So it's not going down. It's going down. Not. It's going down by stealth, isn't it? But
well,
you're paying for it elsewhere.
The Tories can either but actually, if you talk about the energy, the legacy was from 2015. The contracts before 2017 had a subsidy. No solar or wind since 2017 have had subsidies. Yeah. And so that is what Ed Miliband took off the homework, was the Tory contracts from pre-2017. Post-2017, renewables are cheaper. And that's why I think Claire Coutinho is extraordinary. Nuclear, she wants the 2 most expensive energies to be promoted, nuclear and gas. And she doesn't want to promote the cheapest, which is batteries, solar and wind.
But wind, we're paying £1 billion a year to turn wind farms on.
Absolutely. And do you know why? Because the privatised Tory privatised National Grid, which is a disgrace. It's a scandal that the Telegraph never talks about. The National Grid makes £5 billion profit. You know what percentage that is? 38% profit margins. They're screwing, and they're not building the grid. And so what happened? They pocketed the money, didn't build the grid, and now we are paying for the cost of dumping that excess green electricity.
All right, look, I have just checked. Average bills are up are going to increase this year by £332. Yes, going to increase. That's going to be on average household £1,973 from July.
Because of the fossil fuel prices.
Well,
no, they was already up. Just quickly, July to September 2024, the price cap was £1,568. Now, April to June 2026 price cap is £1,641. That's high. That's before all this was factored in.
Do you accept that Ed Miliband cannot take account of Ukrainian and Iranian wars? Which
hold on, the Iranian war isn't priced into that April-June price cap.
Yep.
Okay, so that's nonsense. The bills have gone up, so they lied.
No.
But he didn't specify markets. He specified that our bills would go down.
If you want to say that it's his fault because Israel...
No, I'd like him not to lie. I'd like our politicians to stop lying to us, gaslighting to us.
He said
he said he'd bring down our bills, not costs. He said he'd bring down our bills. They're higher than they were 3 years ago. So that was a lie, yes or no?
No, it wasn't a lie. He said he'd bring down costs. He brought down the costs. Look...
You cannot defend this.
Pardon?
You cannot defend it.
I can't defend the Iranian and the Russian war.
I've just told you that April to June price cap does not include the Iranian price hike. So, hold on, already it's £70-odd higher than it was 3 years ago.
To be fair to Adam's point, Donica, Ukraine was already at a war when Ed Miliband got into power. But I'd like to bring Peter in. Peter.
A couple of points, if I may. Israel and America have not invaded Iran, which you said.
They have.
But you said they'd invaded. They've not invaded.
Well, they've bombed them.
Words are important. Battery power, very important. Firefighters will tell you how problematic battery power is, both in vehicles, in bikes, and the such like. It's not really the long-term answer, is it? Bearing in mind how many minerals have to be mined to go into the manufacture of these?
Well, if you mine minerals once for a battery, you mine coal and oil for the entire lifetime of a power plant. So these batteries will not be stored in people's houses. They're stored out in the countryside. And already California is providing 8% of its energy. One of the largest economies in the world is providing 8% of its energy from batteries.
Lisa?
I'm going to defend you a little bit here, because you are right about the grid, and you are right that we are a country that has almost sold off everything. We have got no control over any of our resources now, and I think that's really important. Tonight we've talked a lot about security.
Yes.
And actually a country that has no security is a country that owns none of its resources. And we own nothing, not the grid, not the water,
I agree with that too, by the way. I don't think the national grid should be privatised.
Yeah.
Now, there's certain things, particularly as we're moving seemingly to a war footing, we do need to own our own energy supply, so I will agree with that.
I'll just say, it's amazing how the left don't mind about little black African kids mining these minerals. They put that aside and worry about their well-being because it suits their agenda of so-called net zero.
People care about battery, about human rights, whatever the issue, whether it's your phone, whether it's your battery for your phone or for your car.
It's funny, I never
or
see
for
the
your
left.
laptop.
I never see the left pushing for
It's
better.
not a left-right issue; it's a human rights issue.
Would you want to see the national grid renationalised?
I think the energy companies are competitive, and that makes sense. But the national grid is a monopoly, and it is ripping us off. You know, you talk about prices.
Could you answer the question, please?
Yeah, I said I agree. I do.
You would,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
I think we need to be very honest about what has happened in this country over 40 years. We closed our coal mines, and then we bought coal from Russia and from South Africa, where conditions for those workers were absolutely horrific, and we did that. So we have been living off energy that was actually being mined by slave labour.
May I just quickly go back to the point of this? What I was talking about tonight was that there seemingly is a cover-up on this very important report that would have demonstrated that actually Ed Miliband's strategy here is not the right approach to save consumers' money.
No, it may or may not save money to do it. We don't know.
But we won't know because the
report should be published.
Yeah.
I think we're all agreed on that.
Do you think it's a cover-up that he's not doing it? Why is it?
I think it's likely that it may be a bit more expensive to do it his way. But the alternative is to act what would happen under what is called post-code lottery, is that people in the south would pay higher bills, and other places will pay lower bills. It goes back to the water industry. I don't know about you, but I don't think people in the southwest and Cornwall should be hammered with high water bills, and we in London have lower water bills. Everybody should pay, in a fair country, the same price for our electricity and our water. And I think Ed Miliband's right to go down that route.
What do you think of that, Peter?
Energy bills are catastrophically high, and they are crippling our industry, whether it be what little manufacturing we've got, hospitality, and so much more. What would you do in order to dramatically reduce the cost of energy to consumers?
Good question. The first thing I would do is actually I would bring the national grid into public ownership, because that's the biggest part of our bills. There's a £500 Tory profit levy on our bills. The next thing is actually bringing the government is doing it. They're building 2 cables to bring the cheap electricity from Scotland down to the south. That will help us eliminate the £100 constraint payments. And the other thing I would do is roll out grants for people on low incomes to have insulation and solar panels.
Yeah, the cabling issue is coming up and get a lot of resistance.
No, the 80% of the cables online are, you're right, but 80% of the cables are going to be sea cables coming down the west coast and the east coast. That's where 80% of electricity is going to be brought down from Scotland. What these people who are opposed to Ed Miliband's decision doing is get rid of those cables, and they want all of the renewable energy to be built in the southeast of England. Where are we going to put it? And also, I would say, I think you might agree, the jobs that the renewable energy industry is bringing to Scotland and the north and to Wales is brilliant. Why would we destroy those jobs and put it into the overheated southeast?
Look, we've got to leave it there, guys. Thank you, Donica. Thank you for coming into the panel tonight. It's a busy panel. Thank you all for listening in as well. Look, I still don't know what Ed Miliband thinks about this, but we have got a right of reply here from the Department of Energy Security and Net Zero. A spokesperson said, "Our plans for a reformed system of national pricing is the best way to deliver an electricity system that is fairer, more affordable and more secure. Transitioning to zonal pricing would have created at least 7 years of uncertainty, putting a risk premium on new investment that could have caused bills to rise in the short term." All right, that's what they say. If you want a little bit of break from all of this madness, you can enter the Great British Giveaway now. It is £76,543.21 in tax-free cash. That is an amazing summer for whoever wins it. Here's all the details.